Hey, you guys. So let's talk about Wednesday. This show came out on Netflix literally before Thanksgiving on November 23rd. Yes, November 23rd on a Wednesday. Fitting. And, I want to talk about it because I didn't think it was bad. I think the only reason I want to talk about it is because I definitely think there are things that may need to be a little different. And I'll talk about those as the video goes on. Um, but ultimately, it was a fine show. Mind you, I don't know too much of the nitty gritty, like interesting facts, everything Addams family. I know some things from like, clips I've seen, um, you know, in regards to, I'd say, all the productions done in regards to the Addams family, but I don't know everything. So take kind of my knowledge with a grain of salt. But I know, I'd say, the general consensus of what the Addams family, like who they are, as well as who Wednesday is. You know, the big thing is with the Addams family and with Wednesday, and being a part of the Addams family, they are not your socially norm family. They are strange. They do their own kind of their own thing. They are their own, like they are outcasts, and they're fine with it. They have their own way of expressing love, showing their love, and I think for a lot of people, and that's why I think a lot of people enjoy this particular family is and have such a passion for it. They are strange. They're known as outcasts. And there are a lot of people who are outcasts. They need that kind of connection to where it's like, okay, this is who I connect to and I relate to them. I feel that in their own way. Like you're not alone in how you feel. And it's really fascinating with, I'd say, the amount of people now, I would say, talking about this show because, again, I know some in regards to that whole property and the family, but I don't know a whole ton. And when it comes to Wednesday, you know, like Jenna Ortega's performance was fantastic. I liked the delivery. Her style and how the character was presented, I think, really fit with, similar to how other representations are. And I just like how she delivered the character, which of course you get that from other people on the team, like the director and other people involved with the project. So it's not just her, but you talk very heavily with everyone involved because you want this character to kind of come to life and be perfect, especially one as iconic as Wednesday Addams. The one thing I'm honestly surprised by, and I think I would have liked more of, is just a tad more time at like the normal school. And we don't get too much time there. I wish there was just like a little bit more, just a tad, just to see more of this, not outcast side, but just the expressions that other people have and how this dynamic is between, you have uh, Wednesday and her brother going to school with all these other kids who can't relate. You know, that's one thing I would have liked because honestly, we just go from, I'd say, outcast to then out. She is still an outcast. Like that I think is one thing to still kind of point out to an extent. She's still an outcast at the school for outcasts, but when I say outcast, I think she makes herself more of an outcast, because even though this is a school for outcasts, you have people who I would say expose themselves to, their surroundings and want to be involved, and maybe people around them are like, no, like, we don't want you in our group, or you don't fit in, you know. But Wednesday still just does her own thing. She doesn't really care. And I love that. And that's what I think some people admire about her, and still like want to get to know her and everything. And she, like, I wouldn't say doesn't care, but she just goes along and kind of just does her own thing. And I think that really fits with her character. Now, the basis of this show is, yes, you have kind of that Addams family vibe, but it is very much a mystery, like who done it, or who is doing it, or what is going on. The main questions happening within this show. And I think that's what, I wouldn't say ruined it for me, but I feel a lot of people probably feel the same way in regards to shows like these. Like, you guess what's going to happen. And 9 times out of 10, a good majority of the time, I take, and maybe it's just because I know at this point, I take a good guess. And it happened about little over halfway through, little before halfway through this show. And lo and behold, that's kind of what happened. Not saying that means I hated it. It's just it ruins that excitement and that surprise for me, because then I'm like, okay, well, what's happening now? Like, what can kind of bring back my excitement, and what I'm wondering, or that, like, questioning, if you're understanding what I'm meaning, that I have not lost because I was right during this whole time. And so that's where, that kind of, I would say, ruined it for me. Like, I was excited. I was curious to see if I was wrong. And then I wasn't. And so, yeah, I mean, it was still a fine show, but just the excitement went down a tad, just a smidge. The other thing is, when it comes to, I'd say, standout characters within this show, there are 4 for me. And I'll probably put my not least favorite, but like the least one out of the 4 in, God, whatever. I'm just gonna list them. Can't speak. English is hard. Number 1, like, my, aside from, Wednesday Addams, we'll just take her out of there. So now we got 3. I loved Bianca. And let me explain why. You meet her. One, she's a siren, and I'm very happy. I feel like I've been seeing a lot of things with sirens, or like, them talking about sirens more, and I'm like, why is this bringing me so much joy? And thank you. But aside from that, we've all heard, like, the reports and different things being said in regards to, I think, how people are represented or not represented. And I think within this project, I can't say if it's, oh, it's just a, a coincidence or whatever. What I can say is, in regards to Bianca's character, she is popular. Like, when you meet her, she's known as the popular mean girl. I wouldn't say everyone admires her, but it's that sort of status. Everyone knows her, maybe doesn't know too much about her, but they don't want to mess with her. And I love that confidence in a character because her presentation and how her character was, I'm like, mind you, sometimes wasn't a fan, but loved her confidence. And that sometimes is like what makes me, I'm like, okay, what's gonna change? Like what can we keep and what will maybe grow or change? And as we go through, we learn a little bit more and we see how she interacts, how she feels about things, how things are going. And I think that's really I wouldn't say basis, but that's where I think a lot of things start to unravel. And you're like, okay, that's where a lot of, I'd say, that earlier personality was coming out. And now that we're getting to the, I'd say, root of it, we're able to see a different side. Or like some things change, some things grow. Because I think after that point and like learning more, she was a star. I I loved her. I was like, she is a queen. I'm like, if we can somehow like keep this and keep it going, like great. Like I would love to still see like the character development and see her like be happy and good. Would love that. Thank you. Other star is the headmistress. I'm gonna call her Brienne of Tarth because I forgot what her name was. I'm so sorry, but she is absolutely fantastic in this role, and she is gorgeous. And I've been seeing like articles recently where she has said like this role, like she has felt like the most beautiful thing or like has felt the prettiest in. And I'm like that is the sweetest thing. I'm like that makes me happy just to like like you want, I think that would be a joy, like you go in, you play a role and you're just like happy to play this role and you're excited to see it on screen. I think that's like brought great, like I think it's great. I was happy to hear it. And then, God, the last one, I always pronounce her name wrong because I say Eunice and I know that's not her name. It's like Enid, Enid. And I, at first, thought she was going to annoy me. I was not looking forward to it. And she kind of grew on me. And I was like, dear Lord, why? I'm like, no. But yeah, those are my four, I'd say, favorite characters within this whole show. In regards to like the Addams family, I know another issue has been how Morticia and Gomez have been portrayed. Two thoughts on that. One, I do think it felt weird, like I'll be honest on that. Like something felt off in regards to their chemistry, aside from like other properties, projects, film, television show of Morticia and Gomez where we see them connect. It just felt weird, like something didn't connect, and I could not put my finger on it. It wasn't there. And then number two, it wasn't a super duper concern for me because they are guest appearance, like they are guest stars. And technically, it's Wednesday's show. So, like, I took it with a grain of salt for the most part because, you know, it's about Wednesday. I didn't understand though the Wednesday and Morticia situation. Like that was kind of strange for me. And I didn't talk about that more here because I'm like maybe that was done more elsewhere, but I haven't seen that, so I don't know if it was like, oh, teenagers and like how all that goes. I have no idea. I don't know how to explain it. But overall, I thought it was a fine show. I am curious to see what season 2 I would say has to offer. I don't want the same thing, like creature monster thing like they did in season 1. Please, dear sweet lord. God, that thing creeped me out. Its face. Not even that it was scary, it just looked weird. Like I I didn't like the looks of it. It just, and I didn't like the transformation. Like that was weird. I was like, I can't do this. And I don't want to see him. I know we probably will see him again, but I don't want to. I'm good. Um, but I'm curious to see what happens and everything. I heard something where I think the Addams family may play more of a role in season 2. Again, that won't come out till like a couple years from now, so we'll see. But that's my thoughts on it. Wanted to talk about it a bit. Um, and let me know your thoughts down below. If you watched it, if you didn't finish it because you didn't like it, that's understandable. I understand that completely. And I will talk to you all later. Bye.